Hey guys, welcome back to On Our Terms, hosted by moi, Ismatou Bah. And as usual, let's set some ground rules because this is not a safe space. It's a brave space. So let's be brave. In honor of that, Mommy, I'm not coming home for Thanksgiving. Featuring Arewà Basit.
You know what's funny is that I kind of Americanized the pronunciation of Basit too. My original given name was Abdul Basit. It's a Nigerian name. And my Nigerian family, my Black American family always call me a variation of Basit and Basit. But I think the most
Got you. But Basit is Nigerian. It's your
Basit is a
Basit.
kind of, it's like Nigerian Arab combo. You know how they do the combo.
Are you Yoruba?
I'm Yoruba. That's right.
Period.
Are you Yoruba? Are you Nigerian?
No, I'm Guinean.
Okay.
I'm Guinean, but
My sister, Abdul Basit, has a lot of different meanings. We're getting into the linguistics of it all. But Abdul Basit means seeker, one translation means seeker of wisdom and truth. And also it translates directly to God the Expander. And Arewà is a term that is used to describe like a divine feminine in Yoruba. And so Arewà Basit is divine feminine expander.
so beautiful.
Yeah.
Like
Thank
you look gorgeous today.
Oh, thank you. Coming from you, I'll take it because you are stunning. You're stunning the girl today. Stunning the doll.
You're complimenting me so much. I need to introduce you. But
Give it to me.
I need guys. She's so cool. I'm so honored that she even came on this podcast. Let's get into it. Arewà is a Brooklyn-based singer, songwriter, producer, actor, and storyteller. The Nigerian-American Dallas Texan native, we love to see it,
Yeah.
who made their television debut in MTV's first queer dating show, Are You the One? So all the fans, I know you guys are gassed. She is a co-founder of Legacy, a production company based on providing resources to artists systemically excluded from and exploited by media and the arts. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
How has your summer been?
Oof, it's been one for the books, baby. This summer was very transformative. I am a girl of the streets sometimes, and I was very much on the streets these times. I had a very, very eventful summer of just not only getting to go travel a little bit, but also really sitting with myself and processing. Because it's been, I don't know, we've been in a really tumultuous year. It's been a journey.
Where have you been traveling to? A lot of solo trips or work trips? What's the travel been?
So I got to go travel to Berlin. And I also went to Sardinia, Italy for a friend's birthday party. I know, right?
Fancy.
Well, the girls are turning 30. And so they want to do big trips. And it's one of those things where when you turn 29, you start preparing for the 30 trip. And so I had some time to gear up for this. And then since I was already in Italy, I tacked on Berlin as well. Got to see some friends over there. And then I got to come back and still enjoy my New York summer.
There's nothing like a New York summer, but
there's nothing like a New York summer.
I feel at a certain point, it's at least for me, I'm enjoying New York summer until August, and I'm I have to leave, I have to go.
Yeah.
It's just getting too rambunctious. I have to see what's going on outside of here.
Yeah, it's usually as there comes a point where I'm all right, son, I'm going to have to turn you down some notches, and I want the leaves to fall at an instant. Or at least change colors,
No, I feel you.
Autumn in New York is amazing. Honestly,
I think it's the best season.
I think so too.
I don't know. You just see the weather, the fashion is better. You don't feel insanely sticky every time you're in the subway. Also, I think people are a bit cooler, calmer. I feel there's something about summer air that gets a little chaos in the air.
We get riled up.
It gets a little feral outside. I'm
baby, very feral. And also, autumn in New York is so romantic and sweet, the leaves falling. You know the song Autumn in New York by Billie Holiday?
Yeah.
Or I don't even know if she was the original singer of it, but she's the one who turned it the most severely. Yeah, that song I feel is one of my favorite songs performed by her, but also just captures the sentiment that there's nothing more romantic than just being in New York in autumn.
No, it really is such a good time. Well, today I have you here because I want to talk about chosen family.
Okay.
And I just feel like, especially in New York, there's so many small subculture communities and they're so cool. And having gone to college in New York, I feel like, and especially, I don't know, for me
Where'd you go to
specifically,
school?
I went to NYU.
Oh, word.
Yeah. But your hair actually is our school color.
Period. My hair went to NYU too. No, just kidding. No, I mean, so what's interesting is I almost went to NYU.
Why did you come?
Because baby, that tuition said I went to school for musical theater, and so I grew up in Texas, and I auditioned for a bunch of schools. NYU was one of the ones I auditioned for. The audition went really, really well, but I wasn't getting as much financial support as I was getting from the other schools that I auditioned to. And also, the school I ended up going to is like a very prestigious musical theater program. So it ended up being like the right fit. The only unfortunate part about the school I went to is that it was in, wait for it, Oklahoma. So, win some, lose some. And I'm taking my L's where I can. And
But
my
you came right
wins.
to New York right after.
She immediately. Like, I graduated on my birthday, May 9th, and I ended up moving to New York May 10th. The day after graduation. It was kind of like a joined thing with like our showcase. We like showcased the whole class that we were in to like agents and casting, and they flew us out here. And I was like, baby, I'm flying with my bags packed. We're not coming back.
How was the move to New York?
Perfect. I mean, perfect meaning I had maybe $250 in my pocket after I paid for my first sublet. So, we were eating dollar slices. But we were grateful to be here.
Any real New Yorker, honestly, who's really been through it,
baby,
you had to eat
several dollar slices.
Yes, like I feel like it's a rite of passage. Like if you have $1,
you're eating a slice.
Literally.
The slice will be nice. Better than not having food at all.
I remember I used to be like, when I started making a little bit more money, I was like, I'm graduated from this. Like, I can't. But it's so funny because a lot of my friends now who come to the city, they think it's like an aesthetic, like cool thing. I'm like, I don't think y'all understand. Like, dollar slices held me down when I had nothing.
Baby, I'm thinking to myself, there was a time where I was like, if I didn't have the dollar slice, the way I would have been emaciated on the streets, trying to not look like I'm hungry. So thankfully, there's the thing about New York, I feel like there's like a hustle mentality. So yes, even if there wasn't the dollar slice, there would have been another kind of slice that we would have found.
It was something.
But it was something.
Whether the hot dogs or halal, you would have figured it out.
I've been vegetarian since I was 15.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And I'm vegan now. I've been vegan since 2020, but I was vegan on again, off again throughout. And better believe that off again happened when I needed that dollar slice. Hello.
Oh my gosh. As a Nigerian?
As a Nigerian from Texas, where the girls are only cooking barbecues for every meal.
Yeah. Was that like an independent choice, like just you, or like
it was
like a family?
It was an independent choice, and I remember like defiantly being like, I can't. I was eating a hot dog, and you know the TV show How It's Made? I was just so happened to be watching How It's Made, and the episode was about hot dogs as I was eating a hot dog. I won't even go into it even further. I put that hot dog down and I wrote in my journal, October 16th, the last day I will ever have pork again. And I stuck to it. And I stood beside it.
Period. And so now you've been more than 10 years vegetarian?
No one told you to give away my age. No, just kidding.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I thought...
No. If I went vegetarian when I was 15, I'm 17 now. So it's only been like 2 years, give or take.
Period.
No, it's about a decade.
I want to go back to you talking about theater. When did you start doing theater/performance?
It's almost easier to think about when did I not do it? I guess I started when I was like 4th grade. I played Santa Claus in the lead musical that was like a country western Christmas.
Oh, wow.
I sang a song called I Ain't No Willie Nelson, I'm Only Santa Claus. It was a Carrie. And, being Black Santa in a rural Texas, it was definitely giving making major waves in the theater scene. In a good way. And I got the bug immediately. I kind of grew up singing in the church always. Grew up in the Baptist church. I actually went to the same church and grew up in the same church that Jamie Foxx also came up in. And so there was already this like feeling that you can kind of achieve a lot through your art in the town that I grew up in. And I kind of carried that with me. Also, like, my family has arts very much running throughout. So it was always really encouraged to...
So you come from a creative family?
Ish, yeah. My mom was extremely creative and, like, was also an actress. You know how, like, in Texas, I don't know if you're familiar with, like, UIL?
No, I'm not. What is that?
So it's like interscholastic league. It's like school competitions where you compete in academic things, artistic things. They have music. They have prose and poetry. My mom actually like won state competitions for prose and poetry. So that was also very unprecedented for like a Black girl in the 80s in Houston. And she tried to hide it from me that she was in the arts because she had like kind of a difficult path with some of her teachers that I ended up having like a mirrored experience once I started getting into it once I was in high school. But I kept going. I was like, ain't nobody gonna stop me. She was like, maybe use all that enthusiasm and be a lawyer. And I was like, I object.
So obviously starting off with like Black Santa and like also like no like also like creating your own path like with the arts, obviously like going against the grain. I'm guessing you've always kind of been against the grain or unapologetically being yourself.
Definitely. I mean, I also felt very supported by my mother and other family members to kind of like know that there are going to be people in the world who just aren't going to see it for me based on things that are outside of my control, based on how they perceive people that look like me. And so it was always kind of like understood that the only way for my light to shine is if I let it and if I don't allow anyone to dim it. So that was always kind of my motivating force. Anytime I was feeling discouraged, I was like, well, the only way I'm going to get to where I want to get is if I shine bright like a diamond. Hey,
Period.
hey.
Would you say you're close to your family now?
Yes and no. I think that one thing that I feel we all kind of navigate, I feel like closeness to like my family in the sense where like I know they love me and I know that they're all trying to understand me as deeply as they can. And then I also am very just aware that like life and the way that we're all navigating life makes it difficult for us to like reach that understanding, especially depending on how much work we're putting into ourselves. So yeah, I feel like an inherent closeness to my family. Like if anybody tries to play with my family, like they're gonna have to, it's gonna get serious. But there's always big talks that need to happen to deepen that connection. I feel that way with my friendships too.
I feel that. I feel like with any sort of like relationship is a constant, like you have to make the choice to constantly like
Totally.
making it better or like just pouring into it or being intentional about it. How would you say you approach holidays growing up? Like, was it always something like you look forward to with the family time? Or is it always, because I feel like for a lot of people, like holidays is kind of a triggering time.
I am a lot of people. Because it was tricky, you know. I have a lot of triggering sentiments when it comes to like holidays and family. Definitely like growing up, you know, as a male presenting, even though I never really identified as a male, but like out of safety, I had to conform to ideas of masculinity that didn't feel like they belonged to me. You know, I wanted a Barbie. I wanted the femme toys. I wanted the things that like spoke to what made me happy and brought me joy. I wanted dance classes. I wanted to just feel like supported for who I am. And yet, even though that support was emphasized out of safety, it wasn't really encouraged to indulge in femininity. And so when I think about like my favorite holiday gifts, they were the ones that I felt like my mom had to kind of like sneak in there on the slide so that nobody knew that I was getting something that really made me feel affirmed. I even think about like things as little as like going to McDonald's or like any type of like fast food chain. And like my mom, I remember hearing her being like, "So I'm gonna get 2 kids meals, and I would like 2 of the dolls." And they're like, "Oh," and then we get to the window. They're like, "Oh wait, do you want the boy toy?" And we go to my mom was like, "No," because I had a sister and it was me, and she didn't want us fighting over who got what. So that like little understanding was something that I think she had to navigate in so many different arenas, which luckily and thankfully it allowed me to realize that there was nothing wrong with me. But I also had to kind of watch her navigate that interpersonal dynamic with other family members on holidays.
Yeah.
And especially when she wasn't around, it just really added a heaviness to the holidays that made me apprehensive and feel negatively about how I was being perceived by even people who claim to love me the most. So that was something that was difficult. Also, just like, the struggle of like not having a lot of money. Like my mom was a single mom for a lot of my childhood. And so she was trying to provide a life for me and my siblings, my sisters, that was like that felt similar to the kids that we were going to school with, but without being resourced the same ways as those kids. So she did a really beautiful job of like not really letting us see that and understand it. But like she's my bestie. So like, you can feel your people even if they're holding it they're holding it down, you can still feel how difficult it is. And I think that weight
Yeah.
sometimes added a feeling to the holidays that didn't always feel so comfy.
I honestly, I relate to that a lot. Like, 'cause my mom is a single mom too, and I feel like she would go above and beyond to make our holidays like extra special for us. Like I feel like I don't know, with a lot of black moms, I feel like, they don't really ever want their kid to like feel left out. Like they
Never.
always want, you know what I mean? They don't ever want you to come home and be like, oh, like everybody did this and I couldn't. And like my mom was really big on like, oh no, like you're gonna be a part of everything.
Same.
Like, you know what I mean?
My
Like
mom was like, "Oh, we're going to theater camp. I don't know how we're gonna get there. I don't know how much money how much money it costs. Well, we're gonna have to send them something about a payment plan.
yeah. But
But we're gonna figure it out."
Yeah, no, exactly.
I can't lie, y'all. I'm the kind of person who is always playing games with my life. I do not check the weather app before I leave my apartment, and I will be packing the night before a trip. That's just the truth. But finding the right doctor should not be something you play games with. So I had to get serious about my alopecia areata. That's why I went straight to ZocDoc at the first sight of a bald spot, and I found my dermatologist. Guys, I was not playing any games. ZocDoc is a free app and website where you can search and compare high-quality in-network doctors, choose the right one for your needs, and click to instantly book an appointment. We're talking about in-network appointments with more than 100,000 healthcare providers across every specialty, from mental health to dental health, eye care to skincare, and much more. You can filter for doctors who take your insurance, who are located nearby, who are a good fit for any medical need you may have, and who are highly rated by verified patients. You can also see their actual appointment openings. Choose a time that works for you and click instantly to book a visit. Plus, ZocDoc appointments happen fast, typically within just 24 to 72 hours of booking. You can even score same-day appointments, because that's what happened to me, y'all. Literally, I saw the bald spot and I ran to the doctor. I use ZocDoc and you should too. So stop putting off those doctor's appointments and go to ZocDoc.com/honorterms to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. That's ZocDoc.com/honorterms. One more time, y'all. ZocDoc.com/honorterms. See you there.
And so it's like, it's hard, I feel like, because I don't know, for me, the holidays, it was like a difficult time per se. But I would say that like, because my family was changing a lot throughout the years and I could feel that like my parents were going through a divorce and I could feel like financially our situation was changing as well. It just kind of, because I went to boarding school, and so coming back from like, hearing people being like, oh yeah, I'm going to like south of France, or I'm going to this, I'm doing that, and then I'm going back to my house, and it just didn't feel like the best energy. Like it wasn't like the happiest energy of the time. And so I feel like I ended up actually turning to the reason why I look forward to coming home was like going to see my friends. I was like, oh, I'm gonna see like the people I really that who truly know me like my full self. Because I also felt like when I went home, I was like presenting a part of myself. Like I wasn't really my full self. And just to give you context, like grew up in a very conservative Muslim household.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was like, I'm going back to this place, not the great vibes and energy, like not the best energy. And it also like, I can't really be honest about myself or what I'm going through or what I'm feeling. And I think that's where I turn to my friends and I'm like, oh, but I'm going to see all my homies and we're going to talk about everything. And like, they ended up truly being my safe space.
100,000%. Like, also like the space where you can actually like figure out who you are. Because sometimes when you're in like mostly just with your family, there's a lot of projections onto who you are. There's a lot of projections onto your personhood, even beyond gender and beyond like where you line up in the sibling dynamic or family dynamic. Like there's just a lot of expectations around like legacy
Yeah.
that I think are put onto us. And when you get to grow up with people outside of that that are just yearning to be understood and to understand themselves, there's an opportunity for like deep growth in like nurturing like true authenticity. So I feel like I don't know who I would be, where I would be without like the folks in my life that I got to extend my family through friendships.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you go home often for the holidays?
So home to me now is New York. So yeah, I'm always home for the holidays. No, a home to me, I've been in New York since 2015. And I would say I'd probably been back to Dallas maybe 3 or 4 times since I've moved here. I've spent most of my I've spent maybe more than half of my holidays here in the city because it's a trek, but also because, yeah, I think that a lot of grief has happened in my life over the years. And so going home has kind of felt like not the best use of energy. I think these next couple of years, I do want to be home just so that I can be with some of my family that's grieving and kind of hold space and share some more beautiful memories with those folks. But like, I also think that growing up, I've learned that like you can't compartmentalize your own needs. And so not going home has been like a big like healing tool for me in healing that grief and knowing that like, yes, I might be needed there, but I can't be useful there if I'm not even here, if I'm not even anywhere. So I think
Yeah.
the best way to really show up for your people in the holidays is by showing up for yourself.
I agree. I'm like kind of going through something similar because, I recently moved out. Also, being the eldest daughter, I feel like sometimes you just carry a lot of the family.
We do
Yeah.
and do.
And I just feel like it gets to a point where you're just like, I don't know, like I'm carrying too much bullshit. Like I need to like I can barely like I can barely breathe, like I'm underwater. And I'm noticing with like a lot of my friends in my community, like friends, like I value and look forward to Friendsgiving more than I would a Thanksgiving or just spending time with my friends because I just think it's the place where like a lot of people feel safest. And actually we saw this stat that like I think 7 in 10 Americans between the ages of 18 and 38 prefer Friendsgiving to a traditional Thanksgiving, according to a new research conducted by One Poll. And I actually really resonate with that. I feel like a lot of people would rather stay home in the city. Like, I was surprised last Thanksgiving. I was like, nobody went home. Everybody was like here.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we all kind of collectively feel a lot of triggers and trauma when it comes to going home for Thanksgiving. Because that's usually when everyone is trying to not only, be thankful, practice gratitude, but get litty titty. And when your family starts getting litty titty and they haven't actually processed the things that you've processed or they've not grown in the ways that you've grown, then there's a lot of opportunity for conflict.
Carmen, I need you to check the Branzino.
I feel like that was a shot, Carmen. I'm saying this is why I didn't want to come home. This is why.
Oh, fuck you.
And usually not a lot of opportunity for resolution. So I think that if someone isn't in a home environment that is like really cultivating care in an intentional and sometimes radical way that involves like moving through difficult topics and situations, then going home for that holiday is just actually labor intensive. And if it's a holiday, it's supposed to be labor less in a sense, right?
Yeah, I feel like for me, holidays has been for me it's starting to click that holidays for me is a time where I want to be with people that I feel safe with, that I feel celebrated. Like I don't want to look back. I felt like with every holiday looking back, it was always such bad vibes.
Yeah.
Like there was just so much going on and like you don't actually get to enjoy being around the people you're supposed to enjoy being around, like, which I always like didn't like, because you see on TV the Disney shows, like everyone's so excited to go home for Christmas and like spend time, and so it's like super idealized and you're like, "Ugh," like I want to have that feeling too, like I want to, you know, I wish this was my safe space, but like having to create it, I think is also special as well. And
Totally.
I want to make space for that because I think so many people who have built a strong, it's also really rare to be able to build such a strong community of people that you could rely on like family.
Which is why I think of New York as home. Ever since I've moved here, like, it's been so easy to like really feel at home in community. Not only just meeting people with like intersecting identities who have maybe similar adversities or similar upbringings, but like a lot of us are like transplants from a place that didn't quite understand or get who we were or didn't know how to support who we were in the ways that we needed. And so finding home within that community has been so beautiful. And then like finding new tradition is such a beautiful way to really flip the idea of a holiday on its head.
Yeah.
Like for me, Thanksgiving is not necessarily about turkey and ham and mashed, like the things that like I kind of grew up on because I'm vegan. But the way that I be throwing down on my vegan mac and cheese, and the girls be like, I can be vegan for this vegan mac and cheese. Or like I incorporate my Nigerian heritage in Thanksgiving. And so I'll make jollof or I'll make fufu and like make it vegan. And it just really authenticates an experience that is rooted in like who I am, not like a tradition that is so removed from my personhood. And then also you can just like really indulge in doing whatever you want to do. Well,
You know, true. Did you always know you wanted to live in New York?
from the moment I knew what New York was. My favorite movie, LOL, growing up was Annie. I had this desire. Tell me why it's so twisted. I had this desire to be a little redheaded white girl in New York City. No, I had this desire to live in a place that felt free. And I knew at a very young age, I was being encouraged to not indulge in femininity. I was actually being punished for coming across in a feminine way. And so I see this little girl who was very clearly a tomboy and not being punished because she didn't have to answer to anyone. And she was free in this city, and then she was welcome. And she had a daddy Warbucks who, by the way, if there's a daddy Warbucks out there, hit me up. But she had a daddy Warbucks. I was like, oh my God, this little girl's living the dream. And I found that like her singing "The Sun Will Come Out Tomorrow," I can relate to that, and did. So New York kind of always kind of felt like a
final destination, or like
it felt like a dream that was bigger than anything that I could ever really understand. Because by the time I was an adult, I wasn't still being like, the sun will come out, but I was like, it will come out, and I will make my way to that city, and from there we'll figure out exactly how the sun's going to come out. And boy, did the sun come out.
I know you said you were close with your mom. So how did she react to you moving to New York or wanting to move?
My mom knew probably before I knew that I was going to move to New York, that I was going to move to New York. When I was 17, my mom actually passed from a heart attack. So it was really sudden. She was about a month shy of her 41st birthday. And yeah, she was my best friend. So it was a month before my high school, or 2 months before my high school graduation. And I had already gotten into NYU, OU, a lot of different schools. And she actually was going around the house singing the fight song for the University of Oklahoma. I was like, Mom, you can't drop any less obvious hints. But I knew that that's where she wanted me to go because I was going to not be too far away from her and my sisters. And it was a very prestigious program. But she kind of knew, like, she was like, go to the school that's going to give you the best training so that you can go to New York and be fully ready. So in a way, I kind of felt like even though she didn't see me move to New York, she gave me her last, like, wishes of what to do because she knew that it would guarantee me the life that I've been afforded now.
So beautiful, honestly.
Yeah.
Thank you for...
Of course. Her favorite color is purple. So, like, people are always like, oh, you love purple. And I'm like, actually, my mom loves purple. And because she loves purple, I feel like I'm closer and feel her energy so much more because of, you know.
And what are the chances that we get to film with you with purple hair?
Baby, she's always going to be in the room.
You carry her with you.
I do. But even if I didn't have purple hair, you would be wearing purple. Or you would be, like, something purple would be here. Because she's always trying to kind of, in the same way that when she was here, she always kind of let me know that she had my back. So this is her way of being so present.
I love that she, like, empowered you to follow your dreams.
Oh, yes.
And, like, pursue music and the arts. I mean, she was a creative gal herself. So, like, that is just so beautiful. She seemed like a really beautiful energy and aura.
She totally was. And she was like that mama that, like, all your friends would be like, oh, your mom is so funny. Like, I would be like, oh, no, my friends come over. All my friends going to be sitting, talking to my mama, laughing with my mama. And I'm going to be like, Mom, these are my friends. Or, like, because she was an actress, too, I would be like, I would come home with, like, an audition for something or, like, going over lines for a play. And she would give me notes. And I was like, Mom, stop. But she actually knew. Like, she actually knew what she was talking about. So it was even harder to... Not hard, but it was, like, cute that, like, you know, she and I had so much to bond over and so many similarities.
I guess, I don't know. I love that you have had a really good relationship with your mom because it even comes to show that when you love your family and have even, like, a really good relationship with your parents, like, you still kind of end up, I don't know, extending your family or having having that chosen family of people that support and love you like their own is also kind of needed or cherished, especially when you're moving to a new insane... I actually don't know how people move to New York. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I'm from New York, born and raised here, but like the idea of, like, someone moving here from, like, us, because I also used to live in, like, Georgia, and I know how, like, different that was from New York.
Sure.
So I can't imagine, like, picking my life up and being like, I'm gonna see this new city by myself, and, like, I don't know anyone here.
Well, and I think it helped for me, like, knowing, I mean, navigating the grief post high school was, I needed those 4 years to, like, really sit with, like, the magnitude of not having my mother in the same way that I had. And then also, you know, navigating being the oldest sibling to other siblings my sisters who were also dealing with that. But because I was kind of like the in-betweens, moving to New York felt like a grounding tool to, like, really find that home that I had lost. So I moved with, like, the utmost intentions of, like, finding some type of grounding. I'm a Taurus. So, like, if I don't have my feet on the ground, it's not giving. It's giving earthquake. So I feel very, like, grateful that, like, New York was always kind of the streamlined destination to where I was meant to go. And yeah, I think that, like, my favorite thing about, like, New York is that sometimes it feels really, really lonely. But in that loneliness, it gives you an opportunity to like really process who you are in relation to yourself and this, and the like feeling that there's so many people around actually allows you to like not focus so much on the external and really think about like your own needs and desires
Yeah.
and dreams.
I mean, New York is such a crowded city, but I also think it's a city where you could feel the most alone. Like,
Definitely.
I feel like you can really just be in your own like in your own head and just, I don't know. I feel like the last 8 years of being here, I've grown so much because I feel like I've spent a lot of time with myself here, which is shocking because I am a pretty social person as well. I mean, I'm really not that I envy, but like I love that you were so close to your mom because like your mom embraced you fully for who you were, for who you are. And you know, that's the whole point of this podcast is to, the reason why I titled all the episodes Mommy I'm is because, you know, I always kind of felt like, especially like as a first gen, you know, Muslim, West African girl, like I haven't necessarily been truthful about who I am and the version of myself that I present to my parents. I feel like I've always presented a version that I knew would be accepted by them, but not necessarily my whole self. And this podcast is literally me kind of breaking down that wall that had been built to separate these two lives that I was living. And it's kind of a letter to my mom in a way. Like, I feel like every episode in a little way, like, tells her a bit more about me in a way that I don't think a lot of immigrant parents know their children, honestly. Like, I don't think some I don't think have the capacity to know their kids on that level or understand their kids on that level. I also think there's a part of them that also doesn't want to know, honestly, because it's not something that they've had the opportunity to even express for themselves. And I think I don't know, the relationship you have with your mom is just it's so beautiful. And like, I love that you carry her everywhere with you. And I guess,
Sorry, I'm getting like emotional. No, it is really special. It's one of those things where I am aware that I had a gift. My relationship with my mom was really a gift. Oh my goodness. And I think that one thing that I was very precocious, if you can imagine. Like, my first conversation that I had with my mom when I was like 4 about like race, or like 5, I was like, I had a best friend. Her name is Sabrina. She's Indian. And she would be like, oh my gosh, I love that you're black. I wish I was black. And so I told my mom, I came back from school and I was like, Mom, Sabrina, you would never believe what Sabrina said. She said she wished she was black. Mom was like, oh, that's so nice. And I was like, I love being black, Mom. And she was like, I love that you love it, baby. I love being black too. And I was like, does everybody wish that they were black, Mama? And she was silent. And I felt her silence. And I looked over at her. And that pause that I remember her taking shifted something in me. And then she said, no, everybody doesn't wish that they were black. A lot of people have issues with being black or black people, but you should always love that you're black. And it was such a profound truth, and it opened up a door in our relationship. Whereas like the next year I was 6 years old, and I said, hey, Mom, so this whole Santa Claus thing, make it make sense. She was like, oh, yeah, the North Pole. I said, but the North Pole, and how is he getting into our home? We don't got a chimney. And she was like, oh, yeah, back door. I said, back door? Who gave him the key? She said, oh, yeah, he's magic. Magic? How you do that? And she really, like, after maybe like 10 back and forth, she was like, okay, so here's the thing. Santa Claus isn't alive with us anymore, but he did exist. And it is the Christmas magic is you keeping him alive for your sisters so that they can keep the Christmas magic alive for other kids in their lives. And now you have just become Santa's helper and Santa's elf. And she somehow taught me about grief and how to preserve magic in the holiday spirit at the same time in like a fell swoop. So like there's so much merit I feel in my relationship with my mother because there was an open dialogue and transparent communication that was not rooted in this like withholding. I think a lot of parents withhold from their kids, and that usually is to their kids' detriment because then they go into the world not being equipped with enough information to navigate all of the things that life throws at us.
No, very true. I feel like not enough was withheld from me, honestly. Like, I feel like, and it's I don't know, I feel like your mom still kind of maintained a level of innocence with you, though. Like, even when explaining the whole, like, Santa Claus thing.
Yes and no. I mean, I asked her about, did she lose her virginity to my dad when I was 15? And the way she looked at me and then proceeded to tell me no. So yeah, there's a yes and no to that. Like, I think that she definitely had her moments where she was like, you are not my friend, you are my child. But then she would still proceed to tell me things, and I was like, okay, girl, whatever. So it's like, I think there was a give and take. And I don't want to like say that there was my mom wasn't perfect.
Yeah.
I don't think any person's perfect. And I think what actually made her such a great human being is that she never claimed to be perfect. But what everyone who knew her felt was that she put all of her loved ones before herself. And honestly, to a fault, like I think Black femmes should be investing a lot more in themselves in general. But the way that she invested in me and the 17 years that I got to spend with her have now carried me through these most difficult years of my life. And I think I got some more years to go. And she fortified me with those lessons. So yeah, not to take away from your experience.
No, not at all. No, not at all. But it's just been, it's so fascinating to hear about your experience and how instrumental, just like how foundational your mother is to who you are. And now I want to shift gears a little bit, but I wanted to kind of like speak about, like just speaking about your full self. I kind of want to know how you ended up on Are You the One?
Oh my
like,
gosh.
Given your background and like, how, like, was it during college, after college? Like, I want to know, like, how did you end up on Are You the One?
It was after college. Like I said, I did musical theater, and I had just finished touring with the musical Hair in Europe. So I was on a 6-month tour in Europe. I went to Germany, Switzerland, Austria, and France. It was wild, if you can imagine. I just come out as non-binary. I was in a cast full of people who were like not aware how pronouns worked, and so it was really difficult in a lot of senses because I was like, I don't go by he, him. But it was also extremely liberating because I got to experience feeling my gender and having a deeper connection to my gender in a country that was not here. So it was almost like I was allowed to express myself how I felt I always wanted to because I wasn't around, the same parameters that have kind of kept me in my shell. I don't know, Europe, it was interesting to have like men, women, people of all types of identities coming up to me being like, I'm not exactly sure what you're giving as far as gender, but I'm into it and I would like to know more. And I was like, period. So I had that very transformative experience and I got back. Musical theater, acting started to feel a little bit like I was being required to fit into boxes that didn't feel in line with who I am. And so I was kind of taking a back seat, started to work on music, was doing drag performance, and I got an Instagram DM about this reality TV show. Would you like to be on a reality TV show? I was like, absolutely not. Because at that point, the only reality TV show that I'd ever really invested in was like America's Next Top Model, which, as you know, the most toxic television, but it taught me how to smize. And it taught me how to serve C-U-N-T.
It was a cultural moment, and I'm not gonna lie. Tyra really
Traumatized.
Yeah.
And
Really traumatized people.
And inspired. Thank you, Tyra. But we were all rooting for you. How dare you? No, but the thing is I feel so certain that like that experience was pivotal for me understanding what reality TV is, how not to be on reality TV, if that makes sense. So casting happened. I ended up getting pretty early on a sense that they really liked me. The producing team really liked me. They flew me to LA. I like hit it off really well with all of the folks who were casting from MTV. And then I just so happened to make friends with Naima and Kenya, who Naima was the cycle 7 winner of America's Next Top Model with Kenya when they went to South Africa.
Yes.
And still really good friend of mine, like my bestie, my Pisces bestie. See, love you, Naima. We became friends. And you know what Naima told me a week before I went to go on Are You the One?
What?
She said, don't be a hater. It's never a good look. If you have something to say, make sure it's rooted in your truth, and make sure it's not coming across as if you have something negative to say about someone else, but you're focusing on you and you're just speaking on truth and your truth. And I genuinely believe, I don't really believe in this, like, someone got a good at it, someone got a bad at it. You're going to be shown saying what you said. You're going to be shown doing what you did. And when I was on that show, I left and I came back and my friends were like, are you so afraid of what they're going to show? They're going to make you look crazy. You know how they make black femmes look. And I was like, I do know how they make black femmes look. But I didn't say nothing or do nothing that I'm afraid of them showing. And that ended up really resonating with so many people, regardless of identity, because people felt the authenticity that I brought to that show.
You're very level-headed.
Well, yes, triple earth sign, so she's grounded.
Very grounded. It was giving grounded.
Yeah.
How did you enjoy the experience? Like, looking back at it, do you regret it? Do you, like...
Regret it? It was a free trip to Hawaii, baby. I was living. Because it was also, like, coming from a very, like, lower middle class upbringing in Texas, like, I hadn't had the opportunity to travel to Hawaii, to have an opportunity to win some money. Like, yes, falling in love. I was like, girl, I've been in love. I don't know how likely it is that I would find love on a reality TV show, but I knew that I could find some coin and find myself some sunlight in Hawaii and experience life in a way that folks like me are not handed that opportunity. So to me, it was just a beautiful opportunity to like grow deeper to myself.
Yeah.
And I took advantage of that in every way. There was like a few hours of the day, like between like 6 a.m. and 8:30 a.m. where the camera guys were on break. And I would always wake up early and go sit by the water and just stare out into the ocean every morning for 30 days. And like, if you looked at me and felt on the show that like there was a piece of calm and serenity that was over me, it was because I was meditating and I was sitting with myself and I was healing a lot of the things that had happened in my life that felt like an opportunity like that would never have come. And I was celebrating in real time the achievement of where I had made it to.
Yeah.
So no, it was a beautiful experience. I had a great time.
I know you said at first when they reached out you were hesitant. What like turned that into a yes for you? I guess like was it just like meeting the casting directors?
No. I was hesitant because I was the same thing that my friends were saying around like, you know, you never know how they're gonna make you look. Black people tend to, you know, come across this way.
Yeah.
And we live in a society that doesn't really know how to share the experience of a Black person, but really knows how to exploit the experience of a Black person. So those are all things that I considered. But then it was like the words that were being used in the casting were very like first queer American dating show to ever exist. You know, Tila Tequila existed, but she was bi and everybody else wanted her. So not everybody wasn't necessarily queer. This is the first time everybody
TBT
liked TBT.
She was a moment.
By legend, by Khan. And see, like we had never had any representation of like everybody liking everybody or like seeing like people like me be desired at all on television is unheard of. Yeah. And so when I realized the stakes in that regard, I was like, if I turn down this opportunity, then I'm denying other people to see themselves reflected in me on television. And I knew I already had what it takes to be the representation that I want to see. I chose the entertainment industry as my career path long before being on a reality TV show. So it was just a matter of accepting my destiny and going for it.
Yeah.
And no regrets. It was just, once everything started to kind of line up, I almost auditioned for grad school. I was gonna go to school for grad acting.
People be so quick to go back to school.
Baby, and I don't even like school. So make it make sense.
I feel
But
like, yeah.
when I found out I got Are You the One, it was around the same time that I would have had to audition. And I said, you know what? Pausing on that.
Yeah. I feel like for the viewers who don't know, could you describe what the concept of Are You the One is?
Sure. So Are You the One is typically 10 boys, 10 girls put in a house for 10 weeks. And over the course of those weeks, you would have like some challenges, you would do some dates, and at the end of each week, they would all sit next to who they think their match is. And for every match that was chosen correctly, a beam would light up. And if at any point all 10 beams were lit up, the entire cast would win $1 million.
And it was hosted by that nigga who...
That one nigga that...
106 in Park.
Which, we love him. Terrence.
Yes. I forgot his name, but yeah.
Terrence, he's such a cutie. He was really sweet. He sometimes misgendered me, no shade. But he apologized. And he corrected himself. And it was a learning moment. So, love you, Terrence. But it was a cute situation because the thing is like, you hear the original seasons, like 1 through 8, the 10 and the 10, the probability is actually a lot lower for them because you're only matched with a girl. You're only having to be matched with like another person. When it's 8 or 7 girls, 7 boys, and 2 trans folks, 1 trans femme, myself, and 1 trans masc, Kai, and everybody likes everyone, the probability grew because you can be matched with a girl, you can be matched with a boy, you can be matched with a trans person. And so they eliminated 4 people, but it was still like the odds were just very improbable for us to win, which I was like, damn, y'all really made it hard for us. However, spoiler alert, we won.
Well, how did your life change after the fact?
It changed tremendously. We won. However, we did black out once. Blacking out means that one night we sat and no one got a beam. Spoiler alert. Please skip over this part of the episode if you don't want spoilers. But yeah, when we blacked out, that eliminated half of the money. And maybe I was pissed because the person that I knew was my match was kind of the reason that we blacked out. And so you see in the episode me kind of giving my I told you so stank face. And it wasn't even like I told you so stank face because you didn't trust that I was your match. I was like, how you gonna be with me and you messed up my money? Oh, hell no. You got me fucked up. But it made wonderful television, mind you. And I felt like that experience for me wasn't really about the money. At first I thought that like, I was getting a free vacation, I could win some coin. What it ended up being so much more impactful is every time I got on the subway, was out in New York, was out in Germany, was out in any place that I've gotten to travel where I meet a Black queer person who saw the show, or a brown queer person, or queer people in general, hearing the impact of me being on that show and how much it allowed folks. I got so many people saying, you allowed me to realize things about my gender, you allowed me to realize that I was queer, and that is the biggest gift in the world.
Yeah.
Empowering folks to step into their own truth. That's priceless. So that to me has been the biggest thing that's changed my life. And I genuinely get that till this day, daily. Believe it or not, it's just
The impact is real.
It's so real, and like it's just you think you're just going on a dating show on MTV, and then you realize that like that folks are connecting with you beyond just that show. They're connecting with your story, and yeah, that I think has been like the biggest impact on me.
Yeah, you had such a grounded approach, even like the way you went through the show, and it worked, honestly, because people felt your authenticity. What would you say to your friends now? Because it's been a while now since you've been on Are You the One? Have you been on any other reality TV?
Absolutely not. And that's no shade to reality TV. I think that someone recently said to me, because I believe that I don't necessarily feel that saying I'm transitioning feels accurate, even though I'm currently like in a gender journey. But I do believe that I'm always in transition. I think that for me, I will always be in transition, because until I transition out of this realm, I will be hopefully getting deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper into my truth, which means there's going to be more uncoverings, more uncoverings, more uncoverings. And someone recently said to me, like, well, you identified as non-binary on the show, and now you're trans femme, and do you feel like that's very brave of you to have gone onto a show when you weren't your full self, like you hadn't even arrived at your full self yet?
Yeah.
And I realized something. I was like, well, I never thought about it like that, because in reality, like, I don't really think of me needing to be captured in any definitive way ever is something that I'm aspiring to. But at the same time, I'm an artist. Like, I make music, I sing, I act, I perform. I have a lot to give that has little to do with like my personal life. I think my personal life is really interesting, and one day I will have a book, and it will be a New York Times bestseller, and the girls will gag because it will be full of tea. But that'll come after the EGOT. No shade. And I have a lot of other things to do. I have a lot of other goals to accomplish outside of showcasing my personal life, if that makes sense.
Do you realize you were the star of your season?
Star.
Is it a shock?
I'm not shocked, but let me tell you why. I remember when I was on the show, there were other castmates who would say in real time, oh, girl, you're not doing too much. Like, you don't go to the boom boom room. You're not hooking up with people. Like, all you doing is hanging around that one boy who kind of acts like he don't really like you. Like, that's not interesting. They're not going to put you on the show. And in my mind, I was like, that's really interesting, because I'm over here kind of talking to everyone all the time about all kinds of things. Plus, the producers are coming to me to like elaborate on my thoughts on certain things. And I think that it was misinterpreted by a lot of folks how like integral I was to like the goings on of like what was happening in the house. And I think a lot of that had to do with my producerial brain. Maybe she's a Capricorn moon, Capricorn rising. So she very much had her hand in many pots. Like, anytime things were kind of getting a little unfocused in the house, I was like, okay, I know that we're really, really wanting to like get to the bottom of whose dishes are in the sink, but what if we get to the bottom of these matches real quick? And many times, like, the producers would be like, all right, well, we almost came out and was like, y'all, let's focus. And then you did it for us. Mind you, I need my producer credit. You know who you are.
I want to get into your chosen family in New York City. I know you said you were out in the streets this summer, but yes, you probably were. You were. But I also want to mention, like, you're an icon. Like, I see you out all the time. You don't see me, but I see you.
Maybe I see you too. What you mean?
No, but I be in the cut sometimes. Like, sometimes I be like, but you are like, the first time I saw you was actually during my undergrad years at NYU. I went to a First Saturdays at the Brooklyn Museum. Yeah. And I think you walked in with Garrett, and you guys were wearing like, not matching outfits, but I think you were wearing like this bright yellow outfit, or like, I think it was when your hair was pink. It was dyed pink. And I just remember you were like a gazelle. Like you were just like, I don't know, like there was an energy, but I think I bumped into you by accident. And you were like, oh my God, no, it's fine. And you actually ended up giving me a hug, but I bumped into you.
Oh.
And I don't know, you just like, you were like the life of the party. And you were just talking to everyone. And I was just like, wow. Like, and I remember that was the first time I ever went to a First Saturday at Brooklyn Museum. And I traveled from literally Lower East Side. And I was like, I need to meet more Black people in New York. And you were literally one of the first few people I saw. And so when Cahleb told me that he was working with you, like I was like, oh my God, I've seen her for years in New York. Like I know exactly who she is. And I feel like you've built such a cool community, and you are honestly such great energy to be around. And you've been so instrumental in just building such a great community, especially with Legacy. I would love for you to kind of like tell us more about how that came to be and how you've done and like just your life here and how colorful it is.
Yeah, no, thank you for that. And also, like, I think that I'm a mirror at the end of the day. Like, people who gas me up, I'm like, 9 times out of 10, I am a reflection of the energy that you're giving me. And so, yes, me bumping you, you bumping me, baby, it's because we see each other. And because we see each other, we're able to be seen. So thank you for that. And also, yeah, I mean, Legacy was rooted out of like in 2020, we had been already doing these types of art projects. Like, I know y'all are all doing yourself with this podcast, you know what I mean? Of like getting with your people and making it happen. And like this is something that I believe is my life's work, is to build the community and build the table that is not often afforded to us. And that was the whole mission of Legacy when we started. Just a group of friends who were like, we want to create the opportunities that are lacking for us. And so we did. And through that, we continued to extend that network, got to meet Cahleb, got to meet so many incredible artists. And not only that, but then connect those artists to each other so that more building can be done. It's been one of the biggest privileges of my life to like see the impact of that already. And also like, it's been difficult, I think, at the same time to navigate like funding and making sure that you can like sustainably do something like this. But the work has been so gratifying at the same time. So yeah, no. I mean, community building is something that like I'd never really thought about it as like an active choice because it felt like a like necessity, a survival like necessity. Coming to New York, I was like, I can't really survive here if I don't know nobody. And so immediately it was like my network of friends from school were like a lot of the people who I leaned on to kind of like find sublets, figure out where the dollar slices were. You know what I'm saying? And then once I like found the Brooklyn drag community, that was my like other like network of like people that I felt like really saw me for me. And then through that and the theater community, as I started to like book off-Broadway plays, book like tours, I started to find people who were experiencing such a similar journey, like Garrett also as a theater maker, Kyle as a poet grad from NYU, and then like Ashton, who is also an actor that I actually grew up doing high school theater with in Texas at theater camp in Texas. Like that was like the initial 4 of us.
The Texas girls, they be out here. The Texas girls be
thespians, out here. Texas thespians unite. So like that was the thing, and we all together were like, let's do something that's bigger than us, and that has evolved and continues to take different shapes, different forms, and hopefully it will continue to grow and flourish long after any of us are here in the name of like cultivating a much-deserved platform and resources for our community. A community that is often underserved, often underrepresented, and often the most littest of the tittest. Yeah.
You know, it's like sometimes like pretty taboo, at least like in African culture or like I guess like Black culture in general, to like kind of have building like an extended community outside of your family. And I think for me, I've kind of had to, like, it's like you should value your family, your blood family above everything. You should accept all sorts of traumas and tribulations.
Who said that?
I think no, in general, like, I feel like that's it. Like, oh, like, I feel like for the longest when I would say things like, oh, my dad's not in my life, people would be like, well, you only have one dad. So, like,
Right.
you know, and I'm like, well, he only has one daughter, one Ismatou.
Exactly.
So, like, you know, he should also act accordingly.
He certainly should.
And I feel like a lot of the times, like, when, at least growing up, for me, it was like family should always come first, right? And I don't know, I just think that, like, you are a prime example of, like, pouring in to the community and pouring into friends who become family.
And listen, I think that has to do with a lot of something that I had to learn in various ways with blood relatives, with chosen family as well, is you can't pour from an empty cup, and you can only pour into someone once you've been poured into. And that cyclical nature of being filled up by your community, it really does allow you to support yourself and support others in a way that doesn't feel like you're just being drained for everything that you're worth. And even on another side of that, like, you can almost always expect that if you are not being loved the way that you are meant to be loved, that feeling of duty and responsibility to be there for someone is empty. Because if the love, even if your intentions are to love from a place of care, are rooted in something that's self-serving, that has very little to do with the person and all to do with, like, you know, there are no shade, but there are a lot of narcs out there. We got some narcissistic elders out
an
there
epidemic.
who really believe that their love is contingent on them and them alone, and that you are meant to serve as a continual source of love for them, and they can treat you any type of way. That's really not how it works. My mom,
Like, your purpose is to serve their ego.
no, deadass. And like, I heard, you hear from Black elders all the time, like, I brought you into this world, but you know what I like to say? I didn't ask to be here. None of us asked to be here. And so that it goes both ways. And my mom didn't really do that. She brought me into this world a bit. But like, I get where that comes from, because yes, we didn't have to be here, but at the same time, we didn't make that choice. So if we're all gonna live with the realities of what we're actually like choosing to do, parents have a responsibility to us. We don't have a responsibility to them. We have a responsibility to ourselves and to our kids if we choose to have them. So I feel very, very certain that, like, the ways in which we engage with community, the ways in which we engage with family are all rooted in something that is reciprocal. If someone is showing you love, then you can show them love. And if somebody doesn't have the capacity to show you love, it doesn't say anything bad about you, but it does mean that you need to prioritize giving love into those who are giving love to you.
Yeah, you need to prioritize yourself and your needs.
And understand what's love and what is actually self-serving, or sometimes, no shade, I got some girls out there that think they're loving me and they're actually being big haters. Family and otherwise. You got to clock it for yourself, because I'm clocking it for me. I'm clocking it for me when I'm not being nice to myself. So I know how to clock it when others are actually moving from a place of envy, jealousy, negativity.
I mean, they say the company you keep says a lot about how you love yourself. The people you have around you, the people that you date, say a lot about how you love yourself and what you consider acceptable for yourself. And so, and I think that includes family too. Mm-hmm. I think it includes blood as well. I think that as long as you have to have boundaries for every person in your life. And that's the only way you can protect your peace. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I think holidays is always going to be an iffy time for a lot of people. But at the end of the day, create new memories, new traditions. It's never late to start creating better memories for yourself. You don't have to live in misery. At least for me, I've seen that a lot of African elders think they just have to like live in misery. They just have to like sit and like I recently, well actually a little bit ago, just had an episode about like I come from, like I said, I come from a really conservative Fulani community. And so having one of my friends who's queer, and he was just speaking about how it's just been like, he's had to come to terms that like, he's just going to sew together all of these intersectional identities and fabrics that he has, and they're just going to have to coexist. Him being Muslim, him being queer, him, all these things, and people are either going to accept it or they're going to leave it. And he's just okay with that. And like, if that means that he's not going to he's not going to be involved or as a part of our community, so be it. And he's going to be building, he's like, basically he's forging a new life for himself, or like building a new life for himself. He just recently moved out of his parents' home.
Go on, friend.
And
it's so important. Like, if you do not start prioritizing yourself, you're gonna wake up someday and you're gonna realize that you were living your life for other people, and that's a waste of a life. No shade. Like, I'm not putting all of my energy into making everyone else feel comfy about a life that is mine and mine alone. I'm not accepting anything less than love. I'm keeping it mindful. I'm being very cutesy. I'm not doing too much. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, like, it's really, really about building, like you said, I love what you said. Like, the people, the company that you keep, it really is about surrounding yourself with the energy that you want to put into yourself, surrounding yourself with encouragement, people who can hold space, people who can celebrate you. I recently heard Gail and Oprah talking about, if you have a friend that is jealous of anything that you got going on, that's not your friend. And you have to like clock it and name it. And if that's you, unpack it, because what you're doing is you're putting yourself in a place where you're harming the potentiality of really supporting those who can support you.
I've been feeling that a lot lately. And it's like, it doesn't also like have to be like the people who like are necessarily hating on you. It's also the friends who don't say anything.
Those be the main ones.
The girls who see your accomplishments.
Crickets.
And act like it didn't happen.
Radio silence. But to be the first one to be like, guess what I'm doing? Please pull up. Yeah.
Yeah, I have one of those.
Clock it.
I have one of those.
Clock it. Here's the thing. I also know that everybody's going through something. And my mother taught me, one of the things that my mother taught me was always be humble, because at the end of the day, the same people you saw coming up, you will see on your way down. But my mother also...
That's a good quote. Same people you saw coming up,
you will see on your way down. And life will always take you up and down. So you have to stay humble. But also, grace. I'm not saying if you're a jealous envy girl, that I'm not your friend no more. I'm saying I have grace for you, but I'm not going to hold space for you in my life until you can hold space for me and where I'm at. And that grace is extended forever. You can always find your way back. I may not always let you in as close as I did when I trusted you at a different level, but I will always allow there to be space for you to come back with whatever you learned. That means that we are in a healthier space to move forward. And I've learned that with family too. There's been we all have this, but like trauma, like I have some family members, when you read the book, you'll know, that have really done me dirty from jump. Like homophobia, transphobia barely even skims the surface. But I still love them. And I love them because I know that their hurt, the way that they hurt me, is because they're hurt. Yeah. So I have grace for them. I don't wish harm on anyone, not even deplorable people like our orange former presidents. Like, I don't wish harm on them. I actually wish healing for them. because they're hurting us because they're hurt. It doesn't excuse it, but it contextualizes it. And I have been hurt. I've been hurt so much, but because of my hurt, I know that I can't put my hurt on anyone else because it's not for anyone else. It's for me.
You're mad mature. I'm still kind of trying to get where you are, honestly. That I think it's hard to just understand that like people's hurt is a reflection of them. And
because it doesn't feel good.
Yeah, because it's like you like sometimes I want to eat people up.
And don't get it twisted. If you come at me the wrong way, I might not curse you out, but I'm gonna eat you up.
And sometimes I really want to eat people up, but I'm learning that some people you just have to let them be, and their actions and words are not a reflection of you. And
sometimes you got to eat people up. Now, like, see, sometimes the girls get misunderstood that they think that I'm like love and light. Like, I'm not a Tinder queer. Not a Tinder queer. Don't get it twisted. I will eat you up. I will tell you about yourself. I will tell me about myself. Trust me, there's nothing that anybody could say about me that more negative than some of the things that I've said to myself. So, like, at the end of the day,
I feel like I'm the hardest person on myself.
We all are. That was what it boils down to. No one, most of us, unless you're like, unless you have borderline personality disorder, you are harder on yourself than anyone else could be. But the reason that I eat people up is not because I hate them or I don't like them. It's actually, I eat you up because I love you. I eat you up because you mean so much to me that I will not have you disrespecting me to my face. I will not have you calling me out of my character and thinking that it's okay. Because if I love you, you're going to get to know today exactly who I am in the most unfortunately uncomfy ways as possible if it calls for that. That's love. Yeah. And if I don't give that to you, that means that I've had to set a boundary. That means that I have to love you in a different type of way.
And that's also okay too. I've had to learn that's just the way of life sometimes. And
the cookie will crumble.
And if I don't feel comfortable telling you about yourself, that means something.
It sure
does. That means that there's something broken here.
Friction.
And I have to figure out if I'm willing to fix it. And if I'm not willing, I need to just walk away from the situation.
Exactly. Conserve your energy. Because if you know that the person's not going to receive it, then at the end of the day, it's a lost cause. And you deserve to find a resolution, even if that isn't coming from a resolve with someone. I learned this with a couple of breakups. That sometimes the only closure that you're offered is the closure that you offer yourself.
No, period.
Can I give it a...
They're doing that in the audience for you. Period.
We're getting snaps off camera, snaps off camera.
Snaps. But before we wrap, I would love to know, what's next for you? I know you've been talking about a book. You talked about a lot of things. Are you going to release any music under Arewà? Is an album coming?
That's kind of crazy that you said that because it's like almost like you know something. Music is definitely being cooked up in the kitchen. We're cooking up some nice things, so stay on the lookout for that. Mm-hmm. Honestly, TV and film, I am definitely getting into my feature film acting bag as well. Be on the lookout for that. And there's always more. I have nothing but storytelling to give. There's always another story. I've been writing a lot,
I'm waiting for the book.
Baby, the book, you're going to be waiting for a minute because...
Really?
I mean, maybe not. We'll see. Now that I've been bringing the book into...
manifest.
Play. We're manifesting. The book is coming. New York Times bestseller. And also, accolades don't matter, blah, 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 but... Give me a trophy. I'm a Taurus. And we're going to get it. And I'm so excited to share. I have so much to share. I have so much art to share. Just be on the lookout. You might see it under Arewà. You might see it under Basit. You might see it under another name that I haven't come up with yet. We are always in transition to bring it all back.
Love it. Well, we are so excited to be I'm so honored to have experienced your storytelling today. And can't wait to see what is to come.
Ismatou, it's been such a pleasure talking with you. And you have such a lovely energy. Best of luck to this podcast. And thank you so much for having me.
Of course.
So lit. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. And guys, I hope you enjoyed. And if you like what you saw, please follow us at On Our Terms Pod. Me, your host, at UTomsy, and you can find our beautiful guest at
BASIT on Spotify or Instagram. And it's Arewà, Arewa, Arewà, like a ray of sunshine. Mwah.
Bye, guys.